Are you as a man struggling with self-esteem in like really loving yourself because maybe you feel like you've had some setbacks or professionally or personally and you just don't feel your true self? Well, today I want to talk about working through this in my experience with battling through challenges in self-esteem. And if you stay until the end, I have an extra point for you then as well. As always, if you want to connect with me further, you can find me on social media and I will leave my links in the show notes below. Now, my journey into the whole like self-esteem and confidence space started back in 2019. Probably bits through my whole life really, because I was having a really challenging time in 2018, got a new job, and then there were kind of various factors that really impacted me mentally. In 2019, I realized how much of the external world I was dependent on to feel good about myself, and actually got to a really low, dark place. And I knew I had to come out of it, and I didn't really know exactly how, but I remember just being in a really dark place, even on holiday, just being really sad, really alone, not loving myself. And therefore that began my journey into really studying and implementing, which is the key part, not just learning, because knowledge without using it is just stored knowledge. It's not power at all. So what I found is when I started implementing it, I started sharing on my first podcast, the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset. And that really, really helped me, and I was impacting others. I was able to coach other people and help people through some of my stories. Now, life has a funny way of testing you and bringing you up to the next level. And in 2022, I was tested even more. I had one or two financial things. I had a career thing, and I had some personal relationships that really took a knock, all sorts of relationships. And it really knocked me again. And I really had to up level again. And I realized, okay, I'd done quite a lot of work on my self-esteem, but I really needed to keep developing it. And I wasn't staying on top of it as much as I like. We can all get complacent, and sometimes something shows up to show us that. And what I realized from that is self-esteem is something that training is never ending. It's a bit like physical health. Like, you don't stop brushing your teeth, else your teeth decay. Or you don't stop, well, some people do, of course, stop working out or exercising, because what happens? Your body will put on weight. You won't feel as healthy, as energetic, right? Okay. Or like food, you generally, you treat yourself and things like that. And some people treat themselves more than others. And it's not me to tell you what to eat, what to not, and what to eat. I'm not a nutritionist, that kind of thing. But the general principle that if you eat well and exercise, you're going to be in better shape than if you don't do those things, right? Okay. Now, it's a bit like self-esteem. If you don't constantly, I've discovered for myself, if you don't constantly work on it, then life can have a good way of sharing things with you that are really going to put you to the test. Even, of course, if you work on your self-esteem, you work on really loving yourself, challenges will come in. What I found to be true, though, for me, is when I've worked on myself, my self-esteem, and it's constantly, that when challenges do throw up, they don't knock me off as much, and I'm able to bounce back a lot quicker. Maybe you've been guilty, maybe you've been complacent of not working on your self-esteem as much. And I know there's some people out there are like, oh, I just don't love myself, I'm struggling, yet they don't do anything to change that. They don't work on their self-esteem. So my message here is you've got to work on it. And I'm going to go through some points here that I think will really help you, that I've learned from my own experience. Number one is you must have an intention to work out emotionally every day. You must have an intention that you're going to work on loving yourself every single day. If you don't have that intention, then you can just get caught up in the day-to-day grind, the day-to-day life. So having that intention, stating it at the beginning of your every single day, at the end of every single day, is a really powerful one. The second thing is really understand the identity of who you are and who you want to be, and rehearsing that every single day. Reading it, feeling it every single day, because otherwise unconsciously we'll get like a default narrative that may have been created from negative experiences, things like I'm not good enough, I'm useless, I'm not as good as so and so. And if those things keep going around in your head instead of the empowering things, how's that going to do for your self-esteem? So building an identity, some powerful statements and powerful words you can write down and read yourself every single day. I like to do it at least 3 times a day for 15 minutes. That may sound intense, but that really trains me to think good of myself. Then the third thing is reminding yourself every single day about all the amazing things you've done. I combine that in that 15-minute process I said there as well. I combine a few things in that and do it three times a day, that 15-minute process. But write down all the things that you've overcome in your life, no matter how small. Because when you ask your brain a question, it will look for the answers to yourself. What are all the amazing things I've done in my life? Even if it was like you jumped in a cold shower when it was hard work, or you went to the gym several times last week. Just reminding yourself of the smallest wins you've got and then reading them again and again and again can really retrain your brain to build high self-esteem, because you're like, wow, I am awesome. The fourth point I'm going to share on self-esteem is your peer group. It makes a massive difference. If you start doing some of these things, talking well to yourself and taking good information, start recording all the great stuff you've done, and then you hang out with people who call you losers, they put you down every single day, it ain't going to be very effective, all the other work you're doing, I'm afraid. I'm very good, and this is what I'm very proud of. I'm very good at putting boundaries and kicking people out of my life out of love who do not make me feel very good, because I know that's going to be a knock on to the people I do care about if I'm not feeling as great as I could. I've even got a recent example, and again, it's not about holding grudges, because that comes back on you. Resentment comes back on you. So it's about healthily releasing it, but expressing when you've been hurt and things. Like recently, I've had to state my boundaries and just express to a couple of people who I was really good friends with for a very long time, and just say, look, I think that's the end of it now. From knowing each other, right? Because I think we're in different directions. I kind of don't like what you've done with this, and that's okay. You're going one direction, I'm not. But I make sure I'm hanging out with people and speaking to people who make me feel good, and in return, I like to make them feel good and support them with what they need as well. So that's really important for self-esteem as well. Then the fifth one is protecting your mind. That very much links to what I just said, but the information you're taking in, if you're listening to junk TV and all this kind of thing, I'm not saying don't listen to no entertainment if it doesn't entertain you, but if you're constantly taking in garbage or things like the news constantly, and it's like building up all this fear, all this uncertainty about yourself, then you're not going to feel very good. So start reducing the amount of negative things going in and start putting in good things. Empowering podcasts, listen to confident people built up their life, because that's going around in the back of your mind and your subconscious mind, and that's also going to build up your self-esteem as well. Now, I've got a final point for you as well. Just want to mention again, though, that if you want to get in touch with me, you can do so with my social media links in the show notes below as well. My final point for you is just start making a log. Making a log when you're feeling like you've got more self-esteem, when you're feeling good about yourself, and then just say, okay, I talked about this on an energy, about energy, monitoring that. You can combine it with energy if you want, but just start noticing, I felt really good about myself. I felt really good about life. What was it today that happened, right? What did you do differently? Or what were the kind of things that showed up? Because when you start paying attention to those things, you're going to invite more of them into your life as well. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.